was not so long ago, though the memory sits like it's carved in stone, that I found myself standing knee-deep in a river, cold water pressing through my legs as if it was late for some greater purpose. I held my balance, cast my line, aiming for the perfect seam along the far bank. I hoped it might tempt a brown trout, something so wild and beautiful it hardly seemed real. The fly drifted past, I mended the line, but there was no bite. And still I felt no disappointment, not even a trace. When I lifted my eyes, I saw everything. The tall green mountains rising like old centennials, forest thick with life. Eagles turned slowly as circles overhead. All around me, the quiet motion of creatures hidden from view but present, just beyond the edges of sight. It was perfect. A moment that cracked something open in my mind, showed me, however briefly, just how wide the future could be. Today again I find myself in the free land of Montana. This time it was my cousin Ian who stood beside me. It was his first time in such a place, and none of it would have come to have passed without my Uncle Joe. He opened the door for us, giving us a chance to be here, to stay with him, to fish, and to live in this freedom, if only for a little while. We began our week with the guide on our first day up on the water. The fish were biting from morning until evening. We could hardly stop smiling, cast after cast, learning as we went. Each catch was a kind of lesson. The sort of day you wish you could tuck away and return to forever. There were laughs we'll never be able to explain, inside jokes born upon the banks of the river, shared glances after missed strikes, and small victories shouted into the wind like war cries. The water carried all of it downstream, but it stayed with us just the same. The next day we floated along another river, same rods, same hearts, just the two of us this time. We didn't catch a single fish, not one, but it didn't matter. That day held its own kind of fullness, because some rivers give more than just fish. They give you time, time to think, time to speak without needing to be heard, time to listen to each other, to the world, to the water itself. Time, even to forget time. Then came the second to last day. We drove to Yellowstone chasing rivers again. No guide, no help, just the two of us in the water, and it felt right, reading the current for ourselves, chasing our own casts. And when we did catch, it felt like something earned. We saw elk and bison and eagles placed by some divine hand, and there to remind us how small we truly are. We wandered past geysers that roared upon the earth, and paint pots that bubbled with heat so fierce you could melt a man in minutes. The land was alive, ancient and boiling beneath our feet. In between stops, we talked about everything and nothing, about home, about our lives, and about the places we might go next. That stretch of road was much a part of the trip as the rivers themselves, because we were moving together, both outward and inward at once. And then came the final day. We returned to the water, with a new guide on a river we hadn't yet seen, but no longer the same fisherman. It rained most of the day. The fish were quieter, but we still caught. We moved with the water instead of against it. We'd grown into something we hadn't been before. Each day gave us something different. The thrill of our first bites, the patience of silence, the pride of going it alone, and the deep gratitude of doing it together. Fishing is not merely about catching. It is the turret of humanity, this quiet, deliberate art. You place yourself within nature, but the act belongs to you. It is a skill, it is a rhythm, it is a heart. Nature does not care whether you succeed, and that is where the line is drawn. But we do, because somewhere between the silence and the motion, between the tension of the line and the flow of the water, we remember who we are, and we remember why we are fortunate enough to share it with. And sometimes, that is more than enough. We owe this trip to Uncle Joe. Without him, none of it would have happened. And perhaps that's the greatest gift of all. Someone opening a door and simply saying, "Stay a little longer." And sometimes I wish we did. The only question is when we find ourselves back. And I suppose we never truly know. But I feel like the river does.